Okay,
And we are live.
great.
Um, we're a little bit late, but I think only Ryan's with us live on the chat. Today's the 4th of July, so I think a lot of our United States listeners are probably not joining us on the chat. Uh, they're busy celebrating our independence from the alien race that enslaved us in the 1940, I think. I'm not very good with history, but and then you've got a huge thing coming up in 30 minutes, right?
Well, yeah, so we're gonna be a little bit shorter than usual. But the game,
Yeah,
if
that's
you
what I was
think
talking
about
about.
that, that's in 90 minutes. So
Oh, okay.
we're
Okay.
okay. Yeah. So first of all, I apologize for being late today. So we're not starting late because of Chris, but because of me. I was relying on public transport, and that's not a good idea. But there's some interesting news, I guess, that's worth talking about. So where do you want to start?
Well, I was actually going to say that there's not a lot of interesting news, so I'm curious what you got.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, well, so for me, the week itself was very eventful, just personally, and I might just quickly talk about that.
Yeah.
So I was speaking together with my business partner at conference in Cologne called Enter.js. So that's about enterprise JavaScript, and that's pretty interesting for us because we'll be using in the next project that you and I together are working on. We'll be using a lot of JavaScript in front end, sorry, in the back end, and possibly in the front end. And
And that
so,
that's Macaroon Mania or Optin Mobile?
yeah, that's Optimobile.
Nice.
And
Okay.
so with Hoodie, so Hoodie is written in JavaScript, it's Node.js, right? And it's becoming more and more prevalent that JavaScript is being used in real big enterprise um, companies, right? So that was very interesting to see how other really big players, not just in the mobile space, but all around, are using this technology, like web technology, and all kinds of stuff. And
How did you get invited to speak at this thing?
they had a call for papers a couple of months ago before the conference, and we just submitted a talk. And actually, they didn't accept us for the talk, but they said it would be a great topic for a workshop, which is actually correct. And we talked about automation, process automation with Grunt.js, and that's an interesting topic with some great conversations around that. And maybe someday I can talk about that on the podcast as well. How we can use this in the mobile space as well. But
Yeah,
this was more like enterprise focused.
I'll need extra coffee for that conversation, I'm sure. Uh, yeah, that's awesome that you were able to speak at this thing. Were you representing Excellent Easy, or were you? What was the business reason to speak, or is it just kind of to have the experience and make some connections?
Yeah, with the conferencing, it's mostly about the experience, the exchange of information with other people, about the community as well. You wanna keep in touch with what the community is doing. And at this event in particular, it was kind of interesting to see how the enterprise world is different from the more indie tech bubble that I'm usually in.
What would
And
you say is the biggest difference that you noticed?
well, it's just that a lot of the things that we take for granted aren't used yet in enterprise because they're so much slower to adopt stuff, right? So
Yes.
we
Yes.
were still talking. Like some people ask questions like, "Hey, so you showed us how to integrate this with Git and GitHub. We are using SVN. Like, how do I do that?" I'm like, okay, I've no idea. I mean, I know what SVN is, but no one is using that anymore.
Yeah.
Apparently, they are. But that's the kind of stuff that you're confronted with. And on the other hand, you see how much potential there is, right? So
Yes.
if anyone needs a business idea or a direction to go into, I think there's a lot of services to be created, workshops to be held, content to be created, etc. For that kind of stuff. But it's
Yeah.
honestly not my kind of business model. But I'm just saying, if somebody is interested in that, there's definitely a big market, especially in Germany. I don't know about the United States.
I mean this honestly, not as like just being super excited about something. I think that there's $1 million opportunity, easy, like multi-million, every week. A new opportunity, like an opportunity to create a service or create, mostly around services. But yeah, it's unreal with things moving so fast that of course the enterprises are going to be behind. We work on a weekly schedule and they work on a quarterly at best schedule. So with things moving so fast, they're just behind, like big time.
Yeah,
Um, it's not an easy thing if you don't have any corporate experience, unless maybe you're a developer and you speak a different language. Um, but it's also not an easy thing if it's your first entrepreneurial project. So for the listeners who haven't really taken a step towards building something and trying to sell it, I think that maybe you don't start with the biggest thing, but
yeah,
like we talked about a lot, you can't get to that big thing without having some small things. And I wouldn't have a
sure.
podcast if I didn't start with Golden Beauty Meter, some stupid app that is something that was 2.5 years ago, but it's gotten me to opt-in mobile and app Jetpack Diagnostics and Macaroon Mania and all these other things. So
Totally. Yeah,
even if you don't see or go ahead.
it's all about getting started is basically the thing, right? And
Yeah.
I'm just saying you can do that in many different ways. So, if you're currently a developer and you have some technical expertise in a company or, can also be a smaller company, a small business, then, what we did is we just started speaking at local meetups, and that's easy to do. You just have to submit a, reasonably sounding title, and you usually get accepted because they just don't have that many people who are willing to speak. So first of all, the willingness to put yourself out there and to just speak in public in front of, even if it's just 20 people, is something that a lot of people will not want to do, or to at least try. And
Yeah.
so that sets you apart right there. And if you start doing that and you get some expertise and maybe some good recommendations, and you maybe can even record a talk you hold at a local meetup or something like that, all of that you can use then for leverage in proposing to bigger conferences, right? And so once you started to speak at a bigger conference, we got approached 2 times by in just this event without ever mentioning that we were for hire or what else, because we're not actually, unless there's something really cool coming up, but I didn't see that. So we're not actively seeking clients, is what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
without ever mentioning that, but we just got approached 2 times by 2 very large companies. If we didn't want to work with them and maybe hold the same talk in the company, and it's the whole 9 yards with all expenses paid, get whatever you get for one day of consulting, whatever your rate is, right? And so that can be a pretty nice business model in terms of the numbers. But the reason why I don't like the business model is because there's no recurring revenue and there's no product, right? So you're basically just creating a new job.
Yeah, it's hard to scale that if you're the person that is talking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool,
Nonetheless
man.
interesting, and maybe
Yeah.
something that you could use to get into the industry, and then slowly, maybe move out of the client relationships and get it more into a product business. But it's just what I've been thinking about while doing this. But all in all, it was really great, and it was a great experience. And I can only encourage people to, for whatever reasons, even if it's just for the fun of it or for learning, to speak in public is something that's just really valuable. We just learn a lot.
Do you feel like, are you yourself when you're up there, or are you like playing a character?
I'm really trying to be myself,
Yeah.
but it's mainly like on a podcast. So whenever you switch on the mic, you can really not try to be any different than you usually be. But of course, you're not gonna talk like you talk to your best friend, right?
It's like more polished and more professional, maybe.
Yes, but I think so. I guess for me at least, it's like if I really try to be 100% authentic, I get there, every so often, and that's okay. That's good. But I can never like totally turn that off. And I noticed like the workshop had 3 hours of total time, and so right before the break and right at the end, like when I was officially done with the content or with the workshop part, and it was a break or it was the end, and everybody was released off duty, so to speak. I immediately just relaxed, like my whole body relaxed, and there was like I was really talking differently to the like to the people that still were in the room and were chatting to us and complimenting us or whatever it is, or maybe asking some more questions, etc. And then I was feeling more natural because the pressure was off and you knew you had done it and all of that. So there's definitely some pressure every time, but it gets better over time, and it's not a bad thing. Just don't try to play a character, I guess.
Yeah. I think one of the hardest parts with presenting is you don't get that feedback. Like even people who are interested aren't saying something or engaging with you. It's so much easier in a conversation. That's why you make it short, and a lot of people, like the best presenters, try to interact with the audience and keep them engaged, not only for the benefit of getting feedback, but also keeping people, that's the 5th, 6th of the day that they probably sat through, right, your talk. So keeping them like moving and thinking and engaged really helps. But cool, man, that's awesome that you did that. What was the conference again?
It's Enter.js. The domain is enter.js.de, and it's enterprise JavaScript, and there will be a conference next year, and we'll see.
What was the male to female ratio? 95 to 5. How many men to women? What was the ratio at the conference?
that was the issue of that conference, actually. So there was a lot of talk before the conference, so there's not really a need to shame them or anything like that, because that discussion.
It's not that conference. Yeah, it's everywhere in this world, in this tech world.
Yeah, it was particularly bad, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's some conferences where the organizers like really try very hard to get more women involved, and that usually pays off. So the last conference I attended was CodeFront.io in Linz in Austria, and they had like 30% female speakers, and then that was you immediately reflected on the participants as well. So this conference there was not a single female speaker, and so there I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 women at the whole conference. So it was really bad ratio, but I think it's just like something you have to learn for the next time and just do better next time.
Yeah, and I don't know where I'm at on that, like diversity for the sake of diversity, but it is super freaking obvious in this tech world, and especially the programming part of it, that it's just male dominated,
Yeah, dude, I was thinking about that before for the podcast as well. So all of our guests have been male, I guess, have been men, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just like.
Well, we had Andrea from Bungle.
Right. There was something in the back of my mind that said, no, you're wrong about this.
Yeah, she was like a co-guest. That's why it kind of blended in.
Yeah, but the ratio is bad, right? So I would need to make a deliberate effort again to seek out female guests that would surely contribute to the episodes. But I'm also trying to not be exclusive for women. So I from time to time I imply that the person might be male who's listening, but I really try not to do that. So I apologize if I sometimes I do, because I'm not a native speaker, so it's a little bit hard for me. But I know that we have a couple of female listeners because they're in the Facebook group, and I can see their names and pictures. So I know they are there, and it makes me really happy to see that women are getting into this. And I am really about. I think diversity for the sake of diversity is actually a value in itself, to a certain degree, because without diversity you always lose something. There's always something you don't get, and it's the same like with doesn't have to be the gender, right? It can also be about all white males or something like that. So yeah, definitely something that we collectively need to do better in the tech industry, but also something I think that is going to be a competitive advantage of companies that can make it work, because they will just benefit from the diversity within their teams.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I think Kaylee here is a developer too, so she's got like the whole thing going. Like she's involved in apps, but she's not like me. She's not like a business
Yeah.
marketing person. Because like even Andrea from Vungle was marketing, right? Like we're
Hmm.
gonna find tons of females in marketing and design. It's the programming and business stuff that's harder to find, I think. Or maybe it's just that we're not looking. Nah, I don't want to say that. It's harder to find. It's just there's less of them out there. Um, but no, I agree with you. I think diversity is good. And just because they were getting a kick out of this on Facebook, we'll say hi to Rachel too. She's out there interacting with Kaylee on a. They're like, hey, you got a shout out last week, so we'll give them both a hello from the podcast. And yeah, this came up from Christopher Sutton real quick. A side note, we have a fan page, like an App Business Podcast fan page, where you can like it, and it has like some updates, and it updates when there's new episodes and stuff. But then we have a private forum too, and I think there might be some confusion there. I put a little sticky at the top of the fan page that says, "Hey, we have a forum too." But so we have a private Facebook group, and it's invite. It's not invite. It's like you have to request to be accepted, and then if we have anyone like spamming or something, we haven't had any problems yet. We're up to like 65 members or something, but that's where we're talking about some of this conversation happening is in this private Facebook group. So yeah, I'd love to see you guys join us there. I think the easiest way to find us is probably from the website, right? appbusinesspodcast.com, and then join us on the Facebook group.
Yeah, I'll click the big Facebook button or whatever it is.
Yeah. We also, I haven't really figured out how to find everything in Facebook, but our little tagline is hashtag ABP. So it's like hashtag ABPers. I don't think I could have made that more complicated. But either way, if you can't find us, tweet us, email us, and we'll direct you to the right place. Or maybe we'll send out a mass email to all the emails we've got. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's actually like daily conversations. It's actually pretty cool. All right, man. We talked about women in the workplace. We talked about your conference. What else we want to hit up today?
So the feeling that I got was that Google I/O really just hit this week, right? So how many days ago was it actually? I think more than a week, right?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
But people just started really noticing this week. So a lot of newsletters hit me that I'm subscribed to that are actually just now starting to pick up, some of the really cool stuff in there. I know Patrice from Mobile 10X sent out new innovation news containing lots and lots of stuff from the Google I/O. So I was just getting the feeling that people are not that excited about the Google events, but over time, Google might just win by being more innovative and getting the long-term attention. But we'll see. So there's definitely some attention going that way. And I've also seen on the Mobile 10X forums, I will not say whom because the forums are still kind of private, but I've seen someone saying that their majority revenue was coming from Android. And I thought we must get this person on the show because it would be pretty amazing to hear how that is done, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in fact, well, I don't know. I was talking to Mehdi from the DC. He presented. You weren't there at Bangkok, but he presented about his Strong Lifts forum and managing an online community. And he kind of backed into, like, I don't want to say accidentally, but he released some in-app items on Android before he released them on iOS. So he kind of got to test it out, which I think is a good way to go. Testing things out on Android and then bringing it to iOS. But he killed it on Android, like 5 figures in a handful of weeks from in-app purchases. So I'd be curious to see what the guy in Mobile 10X was doing, like what kind of apps he's got. Because it almost seems like more utility, like Mehdi's is Strong Lifts. It's a workout thing, fitness app. Maybe the Android person, I know that this isn't the case in Asia, but maybe in the United States it's more utility-based apps. I'm not really sure. For all the data we read, I don't know that we have a really good understanding of that yet.
Yeah,
Maybe something
I'm
to.
just saying we need to dig deeper into this, and we need to
Yes.
find out, because even if overall you can't monetize that well on Android, there might be some big opportunities in there that that create a sub-market within the ecosystem that's way more profitable than iOS. And if that's the case, that'd be very interesting to know, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's just something I've been picking up.
Okay, so then for the week we had the Google I/O. We had we had our Masterminds one. I think our comments are messed up. We use a WordPress curve, wpcurve.com, for managing our website. So maybe I forgot that we had that service for this website, and I think our comments have been down for like 2 weeks. So I'm gonna email them and say, hey, what's going on with our comments? It seems like maybe our Discuss system is messed up, but
Yeah,
we were
right,
getting
right now
several comments.
the discuss system is not there anymore, so I don't know what happened. I didn't deactivate it, but um, I saw that you did a comment just for testing, and that worked. So at that time, it seemed to work, but yeah,
Yeah,
I need
and
to
then
figure it out. And
yeah, if
um,
you look at recent comments, you don't see my test comment unless you deleted it. So,
I
um,
deleted that, yeah,
oh, okay, okay,
because it was a test comment. But
right, right.
yeah, the thing is, apologize for comments not working, and we'll fix it.
Yeah, yeah. And so we talked Masterminds. I was really curious the feedback on that. We haven't had a lot of feedback on that, but I think that was a pretty strong episode in as far as advice goes. I hope people take action and share with us. And then we had your web components, Polymer web components conversation, which I think was very interesting as well. I think I told you this over Slack, but Dave Verwer says let's go ahead with his interview. So that will be next week, which is a good interview, I think. He's the guy behind Shiny Dev Development, which is the iOS review time hashtag on Twitter, and he's also got a weekly newsletter that actually just came out today. His newsletter is called iOS Dev Weekly. So he'll be an interesting guest for everyone to check out next week.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
All right, man. What else? I know you and I have some things to talk about. We've got the France-Germany game coming up in a little bit.
Yeah, as I said, this would be a little bit shorter weekly.
Yeah.
It seems like we didn't get anyone to show up because of the World Cup and because of 4th of July. So maybe next time we can have some questions and answers.
Yeah, Ryan's in the chat, and he's got like 8 questions, but maybe we can answer some of them offline. Apparator, good or bad service? I think it's a good service. It depends what you're using Apparator for. I prefer to make my own pop-ups for saying like, hey, if you like the app, they take it to rate, and if they don't like the app, then you take them to customer service, like an email that's pre-filled out saying, how can we help you? Apparator is just straight. After 3 uses, pops up, do you want to rate me, type of thing. So it's not bad. It's solid code, but I just like a different strategy there. Yeah, give me another week, Ryan. That's one of the things I'm recording today, is asking for ratings and reviews for the App Business MBA. Yeah. So okay, with that, are we signing off? That was the shortest ABP Weekly ever. But happy 4th to the Americans, and just to rub it in, happy 4th to the British. And yeah, then we're going to go watch Germany.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go back to work.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.